everyone, and welcome to another fun-filled episode of Fangirlz Assemble. I've been away for 1 week, but I'm back. How are you doing today, Maddie?
I'm doing pretty good. And also, real quick, we've had some questions in the chat about this.
Okay.
But I just wanted to address real quick why we didn't have a show last night. So we were supposed to have an interview with Ryan K. Lindsay, and that's still going to happen. We've just postponed it. I'm so glad he's so nice and understanding with us. But it was going to work out to where I would be available, but literally no one else would be for the interview. Right. And as much as I would have loved still to do the show, and I would do it for us, obviously, I would have felt bad if he came to do the show for us. And it was just like, hey, it's only me. So I figured it'd be best for us to push it back, and that way we can have all the crew here. So that's why it's tonight instead of yesterday. But now it's two of us. So
yeah, and actually one of the reasons I couldn't be here yesterday, first of all, I had to be out of town for a work-related thing, and then I wouldn't be able to make it back in time, so it wouldn't. But I actually got to go see Aquaman, one of the men's, in like a Amazon Prime's, the early screening kind of thing. So we are going to talk about that. But before we get started, Maddie, where'd you buy all the lovely books that are behind you?
Well, I bought them all pretty much through InStock Trades. So InStockTrades.com is our wonderful, beautiful, amazing sponsor. You can get everything up to 50%, sometimes more, usually about 42% off of any of these big name publishers. And if you spend more than $50, you get free shipping. So
whoop, whoop, whoop. And next week we are actually having one of our pick of the week for December, Mouse Guard box set that will be on sale typically for 30%, but next week it will be on sale for 45% off for starting Monday and then Tuesday 3 p.m. EST, and that will run until the following Tuesday, the 3 p.m. EST. So go check out IST.com, InStockTrades.com, IS short for IST, for all your collected edition needs. But before we get started, I also need to address my new best friend that's here next to me. I don't know if anyone can see it. Like, there you go. So it's like a standee that Kristan and Maddie got for me for Christmas. It's one of the dumbest, best thing that ever happened to me.
It's so good. I'm so glad it happened.
No. I got the box and I'm like, what is this? So then I bring it in and then I open. I'm like, those bitches. That was the first thing that came to my mind. And I was laughing my head off, and like it just found the perfect place, and he's actually perfect. And believe it or not, this standee actually showed me, I don't know if you can see it all the way from here, but Chris Evans has his crease in his forehead when he's like really concentrating. I never noticed it before. This kind of showed that to me, and I've been noticing that left, right, and center now. Like,
I'm glad we could help.
Yeah, it was really amazing. It was really amazing. But anyway, with that out of the way,
really important for you to have, say that way when you come home after watching Avengers 4, you have something to cry to about. Like,
why did you leave us? He's dying. He's so dying. I'm actually just saying myself, like, so when the time comes, it will be okay. But I know it's not going to be okay, but it's one of those things just I have to. Like, if it doesn't happen, then great. But if it happens, I'm still going to be like, it's okay,
Yeah,
I don't know.
Prepare yourself.
I'm preparing myself, like, so hardcore. Like, it's not even funny. But, well, that's a movie that's about, I think, I actually have it on the countdown, so hang on. As of today, it's 130 days away from us, but there were 2 comic book movies that were here right now that we can talk about. And so let's just do the first one, Aquaman, because I've seen it. Maddie still haven't. I think she will. Yeah, so I got the Amazon Prime exclusive thing going on. It was splatter all over Amazon.com. So I kind of went, and I had to sit through about 10 minutes of Amazon advertisement. Then it was just Amazon advertisement for 10 minutes. There was no trailer. I think there was a couple of trailers that started, or like Warner Brothers trailer. And then there was this super embarrassing James Wan, Jason Momoa, Amber Heard, and Patrick Wilson. And then, oh, this is for our, Amazon Prime members. So I was embarrassed on their behalf. And then that happened for like 5 seconds, and then the movie began. So we're not going to talk about any spoilers. To be honest, there's nothing to spoil. I mean, if you I'm not going to. Like, if you read any of it's a very much of an Aquaman or Aquaman, however you say it, the origin story. It's pretty good, to be honest. And I'm actually sounding high pitched when I'm saying pretty good, but it's.
I mean, for a DC movie, that's a great review. So I am ecstatic because I'll take anything now. We've been beaten so low, with the exception of Wonder Woman. Who's amazing. But like everything else is such garbage, and so if I'm handed anything, it's like, oh thank God, look at this! This is amazing! Wow.
So the movie's not perfect by any stretch, but it's very it gets its job done. Like in the sense like it introduces the character, the world, and the visual effect of it is so good. Oh my God, I loved it. I loved it so much. It's like, because everything is underwater. So it's like they rendered it, like, the hair flows and everything. It was done so well. I really loved it. And I'm a sucker for like kingdom, like, thrones, those kind of royalty fights and stuff. So it really brings in those political intriguing part of it as well. I will say, similar to, I don't understand why Loki's not the king, like why everyone said, oh, Thor, you are the worthy one. I quite didn't understand why they were saying that Arthur Curry is the worthy one. I mean, it's one of those things that it's like the other guy kind of knows a lot more, and this one doesn't want to be king. So why are we all rooting for him? It has that moment, but I think it's one of those things like you're just nitpicking at this point. Soundtrack though. Whoever did it, I don't think they can listen to music. Like, I don't think, like, the soundtrack was terrible. Like, it was atrocious. I hated it. Like, like, it was literally, like, make it stop, like, at times. So there was that about it, too. And I really enjoyed it. And, like, it was really good. Like, it was good. Like, for a DC movie, the hype is real, I'll say.
Good.
So yeah, like, I mean, I can't wait for other people to watch it and then kind of say, like, when are you planning on going?
I think I'll end up seeing it either late Thursday or sometime on Friday. So as soon as I can.
Right.
Well, D&D on Thursday, so if that gets canceled, I'm going straight after work.
So if you can, though, I would recommend seeing it in IMAX.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can, like.
In that way, I think I have to go see it again because it's so good.
Which one?
I wish I had seen the most recent, Into the Spiderverse, in IMAX.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, this one was in regular screening, so there was no IMAX. But the thing is, like, I think that this is the movie that, like, you'd get a lot out of it if you go in IMAX.
Okay.
So if you can, I would recommend. But it's one, like, you don't have to. If you have the, like, reward points or whatever, I would recommend seeing it in IMAX. It's really, really good. But so after seeing the movie, I kind of got all excited about Aquaman and wanted to know a little bit more. So I decided to give this a read today, like by Jeff Jones, the new omnibus that came out. So you've read it before, though, Maddie. Yeah. What's your thought on it?
So I have I bought the trades. The original run. I loved it. I actually did a review on it. We did an episode on Near Mint Condition, my other channel. Old Reader, New Reader, about this one. I absolutely loved it. And I had nothing, like, I hadn't read much Aquaman. I had nothing against him. I was still interested in reading him. But after I read this run, I was like, I am all the way pro Aquaman, 100%. He's amazing. I love him. Super big fan. But I like clean cut Aquaman. Like, I think this is, I'm very much a woman who's in love with beards. But I like this Aquaman, like clean cut. I don't know why. And I would never have said that in any other circumstance, but I'm like, no, this is my Aquaman right here. This guy.
This guy. So I was reading it today, and this, like you, I also never read any Aquaman or had any intention of reading it. So since I already got it, I thought that, you know, I'm going to read it anyway. And I could not get over how hot he was, or he is, like in this, you know, like the whole blonde, like clean cut look and everything. And I completely agree. I know I always talk about beard and, you know, all that, but this was like, because towards the end, and this is not a spoiler at all, Mira and him kind of sitting in the throne room, like, you know, she's back. And then she just says, just shave the beard. And, you know, he smiles. And I'm like, yeah, girl gets it, you know.
And she is a knockout. Like,
oh, yeah. Like,
wow.
I just loved her here. Like, she's just like, bing, bang, boom. What's up? Like, you know, there is no, she's like very detached, but yet like just there and just being a badass left, right, and center. And yeah, like it begins with like a little bit tongue in cheek, like, oh no, everyone's making fun of him. He's like a butt of all jokes, and then he just became not butt of jokes, like, you know, and super, like, you know, it was mega entertaining. Like, it's all about him getting back to the throne. I mean, it's obviously New 52, so everything kind of got reset and everything. But it's about him. He doesn't want to be king. He's like, you know, in the surface world, but then certain circumstances happens that leads him to become a king, and it ends with him being the king. And I read like the 2 issues of like Jeff Parker's run. It's terrible. It's really not good. Like, it just has such a tonal shift to it, and the art is not really good. Even Ivan Rice's art over here is just gorgeous. It's nothing like that. So, I mean, I feel like you can read this and then go straight to Rebirth. Like, you were talking a little bit about Rebirth and how Aquaman is in Rebirth. So, enlighten us a little bit.
I like it. I thought it was pretty similar to this. And again, I have very limited knowledge still, and I haven't read all of my Rebirth trades, but after reading like the first one, I really like the direction they were taking it. It's all about, I mean, so far what I've read from the start of it, Aquaman trying to create diplomatic relationships with the land, right? And so he's got like this what's the word? Whatever. Anyway, so he's trying to create that relationship, but it goes wrong with it for him. He ends up getting in trouble. But something I really like about Aquaman is that he can make those hard decisions that a lot of people, I feel like, in the Justice League don't. He makes some choices that maybe they would not consider to be moral. And I think that's an interesting dynamic with that group, because I mean, if you read Jeff Johns, he was very much like, okay, I am pro vengeance. Like,
oh yes, I love that. I love that shit.
And I like seeing that about him. And it's not that the other people in the Justice League aren't capable of it, but there's a definite difference between them that you wouldn't know about unless you read this, because you would assume they're all the same, right?
Right.
The only difference here is that he is underwater, and that's the big difference. But it's so much more than that. He is so much more than that, and his duality between between the land and water, and him trying to reconcile kind of his responsibilities with, you know, ruling Atlantis with also just wanting to be his own dude, you know. Like, I don't know, he's a very, very interesting character, and I feel so bad for him. He's always been stereotyped, and I'm so thankful that people that, as far as the Aquaman stories I've read, which is just the Jeff Johns Aquaman, the Rebirth Aquaman, that they always bring up the stereotypes with him, because I think that's important. You need to let the readers know right away if they're new, like, hey, we get it. Aquaman also gets it. He hears all this whole, like, I talk to fish BS, and that is not how this works.
And in the beginning of this, he goes to a restaurant and he orders fish and chips. And everyone's like, oh, but you talk to fish? And then he's like, no, I don't talk to them. I mean, I just let them do things because their brain's not capable of it. So, no. And I really
tries to human-splain. I'm calling it human-splaining to Arthur how he works, right? And no one takes him seriously. Not anyone. And he's he's a serious dude. The cops are like, hey, Aquaman, you got your brownie points. It's fine. We'll take care of this. You know, go home. He's like, what are you talking about? And other people are like, listen, no, I know what you're about. And he's like, you don't know anything.
And then there was also a scene where it's like a policeman is like, oh my God, we got our ass handed to us by Aquaman. Like, no one's gonna let us live this down. Like, they have this kind of moments over here.
Oh, dude, he's wonderful. They don't know. They don't understand.
Yeah, so it was really fun. And the thing is, like, I wasn't a huge fan of like Jeff Johns after reading the Green Lantern, because I feel like despite him building the world and doing everything for it, like it's awesome. Don't get me wrong, but there is a certain disconnect the way he writes, or the way he writes characters. I wasn't a huge fan of, so I kind of picked it up with some trepidation, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad I put my biases aside, because, you know, he kind of redeemed himself with this. Like, Jeff Johns and Aquaman redeemed themselves.
I'm surprised most people are like 100% pro Jeff Johns. So I'd like to see you read more and hear your opinions of his other work.
Well, I know that I'm never going to read JSA, because every time I look at JSA, I get trauma, PTSD about The Boys by Garth Ennis.
Booster.
I know.
I just want you to read Booster, because I really like him.
Yeah, someday I'll get over this. And I'll read it. But I am interested into reading his Flash run. Like, so I think it follows Mark Waid's Flash run. So I'm just waiting for all of Mark Waid's trade to come out so I can read that, and then just jump right into, I think it's Mark Waid, then Grant Morrison, and Jeff Johns, or some combination of that. So I'm actually kind of thinking about going back and then reading all of that at once.
Let me know what you do. We can make it like a little book club thing.
Oh, yeah. 100%. And then his Teen Titans, I heard it's pretty good too. So
it's pretty good. I didn't connect with as much as Titans.
Okay.
And I have my own bias or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some characters I really, really like. I agree the story's very, very compelling.
Okay.
Maybe it's just because they're younger. I don't know. I think it's a very, very solid, good run.
Okay.
I wish I liked Cassie, because I don't like her. She's the one Amazon that I'm not like head over heels. Because I'm either like the Amazons, I'm like, I will die for them, or it's like nothing.
That's huge news, because you love them. So that's why.
Amazon, so I guess that's why. But I love Superboy's great in it. Kid Devils was really cool, because I didn't know about him.
Mm-hmm.
That was neat. Ravager, who's Slade's daughter, is really cool. It was neat. I don't know.
Okay, so I'm probably planning on checking that out as well. But the thing is, like, this run, this Aquaman run, there is so much influence of that in the movie, both story wise and also visual. Like, a lot of this kind of comes from here. So Evan Rice's work kind of comes into play a lot of the cases. When you watch it, I think you will see some of them. Like, and please, when you come back, do share, like, you know, if you actually picked some of them up, because it's so fresh for me, like, having seen the movie last night. So when I was reading it, I'm like, oh, I seen it there. So it was just, it was really fantastic because of that. Although there is I don't want to, like, there is a couple of things I wish they kind of stuck to the book rather than what they did in the movie, but that's neither here nor there. Especially in a couple of things, I'm like, why is that guy doing here? That guy is not cool. Like, you know, you like, I know that because of the actor. Like, I know that guy is going to turn, and that's more of a, that's just the way pop culture works. If you know what I mean. If you know what I mean.
Excited to see it, and I think I might, if I have time, before or after, I'd like to also read Peter David's run to see if like what's been taken from both. Because if you look at him, he looks like he's from like Peter David's run because of the
gruffness, yeah.
Yeah, but the trailers all seem like it came straight from this story, from the Jeff Johns. And so I'm really eager.
I think this is not a spoiler because they showed it in Justice League, the movie that we all pretend that didn't happen.
Never heard of that movie.
Oh, okay. If you didn't heard about the movie, so you're gonna hear it first. In the Justice League, like, he had the certain reluctance to take responsibility, and like he just wanted to be like whatever. But I think that I didn't feel that as much in Jeff Johns' run because even though he had that, like, I want to be my own dude, he kind of got into it. But I think like the whole complete reluctance and everything, that whole idea came from Peter David's run.
Yeah.
From what I heard, like what I understood. But yeah, I'm actually excited about going back and reading that. But I think like I'm going to probably go to Rebirth next if I have to read. Go to Rebirth next, and then I really hope they do an omnibus of the Rebirth because the art by Stephen.
Me too. I'm so upset about it because some people are trying to custom bind their own, and we may even still get one because we just got this month the Green Arrow Rebirth Deluxe, and we were supposed to get that so many times. Let me show you what the trades look like. Yeah, the art for the Rebirth Aquaman is beautiful. Like, look at that cover.
Right.
I really kind of good. I can't really, but the art's really nice. It's really vibrant. I think if you're gonna make Aquaman, the art needs to be this colorful all the time, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. But have you seen the Stephens? I can't say his last name. Like, you know who that guy is? Zilek.
I am madly in love with his work.
Right.
I want to meet him so bad because he did a Donna Troy fan art, and now he does like covers for Titans, and he's done covers for Justice League. But he drew a fan art of Donna where she's at a book signing for her biography. And the book says something like, it's just her going like this. It says, your guess is as good as mine, because her backstory has like been changed a million times. It's so good. But I love women because he always adds in like huge muscles. Speaking of which, sorry, I know we'll get back on track, but now that you mentioned him, have you seen his artwork recently? Where it's like Wonder Woman and Lara Croft from Tomb Raider.
Oh, you showed me that. You sent me that. I loved it. Oh my god.
Yeah, they're like flirting. I'll send it to you later. It's good. It's really good.
No, you showed it to me, and I was in love, and I was like, oh my god. His Sunstone.
Oh, I can't tell if you're frozen for me, if that's just me. Oh no, is it just me talking to myself? Somebody tell me in the chat. Is it just me? Hello? Am I alone in the world? Chat, help me. Oh, okay, so I'm here. Cool. Sup, guys? I'll talk. So I guess Free is frozen, since she was about to mention Sunstone, which I haven't read yet. So since it's just me, I want to show you guys the Christmas present I got from Fariha and Kristan until Fariha comes back, hopefully. So last night I got a package from Amazon, and I opened it up, and it is this really cool DC Collectibles Wonder Woman they sent me. Look how cute this is. So I opened it and then immediately cried because I'm a child, basically. And she's beautiful, and she's like deflecting bullets, and she's standing on this really cool shield. And yeah, you should check her out. Well, shit, guys, I was gonna like, I've never just been in here all alone by myself. You can hear me. Oh well, shit. I was gonna show you this figure. Oh no. I'm panicking, you guys. Okay. So, I guess since we're waiting for her, I assume she'll jump back in, hopefully, or she'll tell me what's going on. I just saw Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse. Yay, you're back!
Yay! My internet is...
I was like, what do I talk about now? So I showed him the figure.
No, my internet is completely crap. So I'm actually connected to my hotspot. So let's see how long this lasts, or what happens with this. This is complete. I'm so embarrassed right now. I'm so sorry, everyone. So I don't know where I left off, but what I was gonna say that his sunstone.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sunstone is actually pretty good as well, because it's two ladies in relationship, but it's a BDSM relationship. So it's apparently very interesting. So I mean, I don't know. You should check it out.
I'd like to. I've read a book that's set in the same like universe, but I don't know if he does the art. It's called.
Oh yeah, you told me. Sugar.
Right here. Yeah. So yeah, Sugar, which is about like an older man and a younger woman, and basically he's like, you know, I'm just lonely, so if you don't mind me like kind of bankrolling you and paying for your student loans, getting you laptops and stuff, and they kind of fall in love. But I would really like to read Sunstone because I love his art, and honestly, that theme sounds really cool. But I guess everything that's set in this universe is like erotic, like, yeah. Which is cool. I've never read that. Like, and for manga, that's like a very common thing you can read. You know, you can run into that all the time. And it can be heterosexual, homosexual, whatever. But like, I've never seen that in like Western comics. Like, so I was like, oh, okay.
And,
wow.
And Sunstone actually have 2 deluxe editions out now, so it's kind of you can.
Oh, it's sold.
Yeah, so
in a deluxe, man.
I mean, you want his art to be in deluxe format. Like, it's so beautiful. You would want them in deluxe format. By the way, you need to let me know when I'm kicked out, because it can happen again. So
wait, you want to tell? I was like, well, sometimes these things freeze up, and then I can't tell if it's me, right?
Right.
I'm just like, oh no, is it me? If I talk, am I going to be this like weird outlier where everyone else is talking? And it's just me being like, where is everyone? You know?
Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah. So, what we were talking about? We just started talking about stuff and said like, oh yeah,
I think we should Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse, because I started panicking while I was alone, and I was like, that's the direction I'm gonna go.
So you panicked and went into a different dimension in Spiderverse. So Maddie, tell us what the story was in the Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse.
Okay, so I don't want to get into spoiler territory right now for Spider-Verse. We might do little spoilers later, but we'll warn everyone if we do that.
Right. It's going to be completely spoiler-free until we say so.
Yeah, so basically, like, without telling you exactly how everything happens, you have Miles Morales. His story kind of follows pretty closely to what I read in his Ultimates run, where he goes to a new school, and then he's hanging out with his uncle, and he gets bit by a spider. And then he starts developing these powers, and he kind of tries to figure out what's going on with that. So at that point, most of it kind of follows that Ultimates run. I don't know if it follows the Earth 616 Miles, because his dad's a cop in the movie, but his dad's not a cop in Ultimates. But then something happens. Peter Parker dies, but that's in the trailer, so you guys know. And there's a breach in the universe, and all of the other spider people show up. And by all, I don't mean everybody, but like everyone you see in the trailers.
Right.
We may get more people in the next movie, because we kind of hinted at that. So yeah, that's the basic premise. So he's trying to deal with that, and then he's trying to deal with these other people, and also trying to figure out his own abilities. It's 10 out of 10. It's amazing. Oh my God. Like, and I read books to get ready for this week. I read Spider-Gwen and I read Ultimate Spider-Man Miles Morales. I'm in love. It was the best comic book movie. Like, it's amazing. I mean, it was like watching a comic book in real life. The music was awesome. The art is beautiful, and you can tell it was written and it was made by people who actually read the comics. And not just that comic, but each of these, because when they switched their own worlds, it reflected the same style. So Spider-Gwen's style looked just like the comic. So did Miles. So did the other Peter Parker. So did everything. It was phenomenal. I laughed. I cried. Like, I had a couple jump scare moments I wasn't expecting. It's amazing. What did you think, Fariha? Because Fariha, you've said before that you were like, I don't care about Spider-Man. Like, whatever. I'm over it. Do you feel differently after watching the movie?
So I had a very bit of a roller coaster ride about it, because I actually wanted to go see it because it looks really cool and I wanted to see it, because even in the trailer they show you different kind of art animation style, and I watched the trailer in Adobe movie when I went to see, I think when I went to see Harry Potter, The Crimes of Grindelwald. We should talk about that another day, but that useless movie that was. And on that, I saw the trailer for it. And that's when I got interested, because I'm like, whoa, this is like animation style. Was it so awesome? So even though I don't care for spider people, I should go see it. So I went and seen it, and I completely agree with everything you said. It's amazing, especially like, I never knew that Peter Parker was this hot, because, I'm a shallow person.
Even with like the stomach and everything else, I was like, yeah. But he's also even though I am in love with, so I was like, yes.
Like, and then one of the Peter Parker is voiced by your boy Chris Pine, Steve Trey, and then you can hear that. So I've already watched it twice, because I went back today as well to watch it.
I want to go see it again.
Yeah, and I'm actually planning on seeing it again next week again, because there is like so much more you could pick up when you go rewatch it. So it was like so heartfelt. Everything is awesome. I have to say that, because it's by the same people who did the Lego movie. And it's just amazing in every way. I cared for every one of them. I cared for Miles. I cared for Spider-Gwen. I cared for, Spider-Ham even. You care for every one of them, and it's so hilarious, so funny. I just love characters like I understand his appeal. I always understood Peter Parker's appeal. I felt like, it's okay. It's not necessarily for me. But I completely understand now more where he comes from, in the sense that, he's like so doofus, but when it comes, he's so good, at his using his powers and everything, look at the hand, don't look at the hand, don't look at the mouth, look at the hand kind of thing, or the other way.
Sweet, endearing kid. And he's such a 13-year-old.
And then
he's 13, but he is such a 13-year-old. He's just very sensitive, but he's trying really hard.
Right. No, I was talking about Peter Parker, but I was
He's great.
But the thing is, going back to Miles, also, everyone acts the way they should. So afterwards, I came home and I'm like, I now must read Miles Morales. I read the first 2 trades. I hated it.
Really? Which one did you read?
The Miles Ultimate Comics, the when he first started. Because I felt like the movie, there is certain relationship that's not the same as the book. Yeah. And I think that I connected with more, and I didn't care for it in the comic as much, because I read it.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, because I would like to read whatever the current Miles is. I want to see what Miles is like in 616, because the movie, his relationship with his dad is it's such a sell from the beginning, right? Because his dad he's such a dad.
Yeah.
And I love him. And I wish his dad was like that in the comics. Just this dorky cop guy, no, you gotta tell me you love me.
And that's in the trailer, so we're not spoiling anything. The whole trailer moment is like, are you serious? Everyone's looking at us. It's so And the one thing I would give they draw New York City to the inch of its life. Like they embraced New York City. Like that was like, you know how they said in Sex and the City, New York is the fifth character. Well, New York was a character here because everything that happens, like, I don't think it can happen anywhere else other than New York. Like, New York is the place where it can happen. And I just loved it. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I mean, though I kind of connected to that in the movie, and there's another relationship we're going to talk about in the spoiler more. That wasn't also present in the comic book. So I was like, and he is pretty much the same both in the comics and in the movie. But I was kind of not all that swayed by it. Like I read like 10 issues in like 20 minutes. It was super fast read, and I was just kind of like skimming through it. So it was just one of those. I mean, it kind of went the other way between like Aquaman and this movie. Like, you know, I came back, read the comic, loved it, but this one, and I kind of wish that the movie was following the story, but in this one, I was just like, the movie's better for it. Like, movie's better for it.
I'm glad that I read it before I went to go see it. And I mean, it creates certain situations where I wasn't surprised by some things that happened. But it also put me like, I knew who was going to be who, and who was kind of the bad person, or who had potential. I knew who might die and whatever. And so I was watching it. I'm just like, oh God, is it going to happen now? Is it going to happen now? Oh. And so just in like, I knew already, but I didn't know how it would be with all these other characters also present. But everyone, it was great. It's, 10 out of 10 movie.
I cried so hard. Like I was actually like tearing up. Like when this is also not a spoiler because this is actually literally happens in the comics. That's how Miles Morales comes to be. The death of Spider-Man, like one of the Peter Parker, like 1610 Ultimate Universe Spider-Man. And I actually cared for that because I read Ultimate Spider-Man and I have issues with it. Like I read the whole 131 issues of it, and I have a little bit, some of the things that are like, with it. But I really loved that Peter Parker. So even though that Peter Parker was on screen for like, 5 minutes at the very beginning, I'm like, oh, it's that Peter Parker. And I was just like, oh, he's gone. Yeah, and then the other Peter Parker showed up with his pudgy and then, pudgy belly and everything. And I'm like, oh my God, since when he's that hot? I'm like shallow. I'm always looking for hot people in my movies. I don't care for ugly people in my movies or infections. Like, keep them out of here. But so I was like all aboard for that. What's your thought on Penny Parker? Like, she's like more anime from anime world and manga world. So what's your thought on her?
I thought she was really cute. I wasn't like as into her as I was into everybody else. I thought she was really cute. When I saw she definitely was what I thought she would be after seeing the trailers. That sort of like anime Japanese schoolgirl stereotype that was put in there, kind of. Yeah, I want to read more about her. Like, I know Spider-Man Noir has his own comic, right? But I don't know where that girl comes from. I have no idea. I don't know anything.
I think she comes from Spiderverse. Like, I don't think she has her own thing. She actually literally comes from Spiderverse. Okay. Like, I actually have it over here. I haven't read it yet, but I actually want to read that one next. Because apparently it has the same energy, though the movie, it's like awesome. But I loved the soundtrack of this movie.
It's so good.
I cannot get over it. like it just like, so to me, movie soundtrack should be that it should be the unsung hero of the movie. Yeah. Like, if you like, the movie soundtrack should be complementing what you're feeling. Like, the soundtrack should be complementing what you're feeling, not inducing the emotion. Because if it's inducing the emotion, then it's not a good one, So that's one of the reasons someone was saying that, oh yeah, I can't remember any of the MCU like, soundtrack. I'm like, yeah, because they're good. Like, you should not be remembering the soundtrack. You should be remembering the scene. But if the soundtrack plays later on, you should be able to remember that. At least that's how I feel. But over here, everything was pumped up, like, 100% there. I just loved it. I loved it so much. And today I watched it in IMAX, and it was like cranked up to like 100%. Like, first one I saw, this is one movie you should be seeing it in IMAX 3D. I mean, that's when I first watched it. It was like so good. Oh my God. And anyway, but yeah, I can't get over the soundtrack. I need to actually go ahead and download all of it. I haven't done it yet, but it was like, oh, so good.
Yeah, I've listened to it on Spotify because I keep getting it. That the first song was like by Post Malone. I forgot what it's called, but it's the one where like Miles is at his desk. Like, it's so good because he's so cute. He's such a kid. He's just like, I don't know all the words, but I'm really like vibing with this. So I'm just gonna try my best. It's so cute.
And that's something we do all the time. That's exactly something what we do all the time. Like, we actually kind of go like, a couple of words here and there, and then just nodding our head. So yeah, I was just like, I can't get over how good this movie was. I can't. Like, I mean, I don't know when they're gonna be doing a sequel. I hope they're gonna be doing a sequel. Like,
they've announced that it'll be about Gwen. It'll be focused on Gwen. But there's still an opportunity for like some crossover stuff with Miles as well. But if they're doing Gwen, because I read Gwen to get ready, and I really, really like her story a lot. It's very interesting. I hope they also put Silk in there and Jessica Drew, who's that other like Spider-Woman, the one that was pregnant.
Yeah.
I would love to see all of them together. It'd be really neat. So I hope so.
So is it going to be set in her world and everyone else comes to be there? I hope that's the case.
Because her art style is very, very neat.
Right.
It's really cool to watch a whole movie in her universe and see how they do that and what the soundtrack would be, Because I think we need to compare the two. Right? Like, just to see that changes from universe to universe. So.
Oh, I loved her so much. Like, from the very beginning. From the moment, like, she like their first interaction to like I wanted them to be together, like, and even though she's like, ew.
Comic like Miles Morales and Spider-Gwen. There's a comic that's just that.
Oh, really?
And they're like, yeah, and they're like a thing. So
okay. I'm really excited because apparently Saladin Ahmed now is writing Miles Morales, but he's also going to pick up Kamala Khan, and
I'm in love with him. I'm just like over the moon. He'd be like, I'm writing a book called Trash, and I'd be like, done. Yes. You. This is great.
So apparently his first Miles Morales was the most perfect comics ever written. Like, that's what everyone's saying, like issue number 1.
Yeah.
So he's going to be taking over Kamala Khan, and there's already internet chatter about get these two together. But now, after seeing the movie, I'm like, no. I want Miles and Spider-Gwen to be together. But I do hope that they do it organically, not kind of like a forced Hollywood style. And I don't know. I have faith in them that it's not going to be like that.
I think so, because if it was going to be a forced thing, I think it would have already happened in this movie. Because there was a scene near the end where you're like, are they going to do this? And they didn't. And I was like, okay, good. Sorry, spoilers, guys.
Like, yeah. But the thing is, like, but anyway, yeah. So everything I want to talk about is in the spoiler section. So should we go ahead? Is there something else you want to say in the non-spoiler section?
No, I think I'm good. So, guys, warning you. How about we'll put a time limit on it, okay?
Say that again?
Put a time limit on our spoilers.
Oh, yeah, we're going to put a timestamp.
So, 20 minutes. Can we do it in 20 minutes?
Sure. Even less. I don't know. Are we talking about anything else after this? But anyway, go see the movie, come back and rewatch the rest of it. It's fine.
We'll be here. It's fine.
Yeah, we'll be here. And, whatever you missed, you can come back. But you should go and see this movie as soon as possible.
And I'll post in the chat too if you want to mute it and come back. I'll post in the chat like, hey, it's over, and come back so you can know.
Yeah, but it's like I'm just saying it's a perfect 10 out of 10 movie. I mean, in terms of, I don't like every other superhero movies has their flaws. Like if you think too hard, it falls apart. But this one is just perfect. And I don't know whether because it's animation, so you're more forgiving, but
no, I don't think that's it though, because I feel like you can still make an animated movie have it be not good. I think Marvel animated films aren't good. Like because you can tell that they really cared about the subject matter. And that's what really makes the difference. And that's why we have a lot of problems with like live action comic book movies. DC, for the most part, is due to a lack of understanding the comic book itself, right? Or just going onto Google and reading the top 2 Batman stories and then thinking that's Batman, and then writing your entire movie that way. And that's why it's not good. Same with Superman, right? These people know that comic inside and out because it was spot on, and not just with the characterization, but with the art style. And then they matched the perfect music for everything. It's like, it was such a comic book movie. They really knew their audience, and they really delivered. I mean, everything. Even that, oh man, the stinger at the end, the final thing.
Oh yeah, my God.
Oh my God, I was losing it when he had like the one Spider-Man pointing at the other Spider-Man. I was like, how did they fucking know? Oh my God.
That was... So anyway, okay, so spoiler territory from now on. Okay, yeah. Spoiler. So my first, like, the spoiler thing that is like, Ganke is not in the movie. I wish he was, like the roommate. Maddie, you there?
Yeah, sorry. I was looking at the chat because I was confused and making sure I could see us. Drew was freezing, but I wasn't sure if that was us or him. So we are. Sorry.
Okay.
I was really sad that it wasn't the guy from the comic. And I could see...
I mean, he is, though, but he doesn't have a speaking role.
Oh, it's still him? But he's so not involved. It's a bummer because he's such a good part in the comic. He's so fun. But I could see them not wanting to push that since he's like basically the character in Spider-Man Homecoming, where they're like, oh, well, maybe we need to like move away from that.
Yeah, I mean, that's literally what it was. And I think like some of his roles were taken by Peter Parker. Like he was kind of like the whole, dude, you got to do this, or, like that, that type. So I don't know whether that had anything to do with this. But I was hoping that he would get a speaking role because as soon as I saw him, I'm like, oh, he's the guy from the from the Homecoming. Yeah. That's where I know him from. And as soon as, because, he's also Asian. So I'm like, oh, yeah, it's that. But it's like, no, it's not. Like, because when I saw that in the trailer where it's like, well, they were like, move this way, like, trying to hide from him. I thought that was like the introduction that happened somewhere earlier, but no, that's not the thing. So
I was bummed, but I can understand that they didn't want to put in too much at one time. So I guess I'm okay with them leaving it open if that means like in a future movie, if we do more Miles Morales, then they get to have that relationship. Because if we do this again, like just the Miles Morales movie, so maybe not the Spider-Gwen one, you won't have the added advantage of all these Spider-Verse characters probably. So leave it for that, I guess. But so how do you feel about,
at the end they do...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say at the end they do show that he tells him that that he. So probably in the sequel something more will happen with that. But anyway, yeah sorry.
So how do you feel about Miles's uncle being the Prowler, and also how good was the Prowler animated? Because he was terrifying. And
then they had a soundtrack to go with him. Like there was like anytime he was on screen, there would be one sound, and you were gonna oh my God! And
gosh, it's so good.
I did not see that coming because I had no idea about Prowler and Aaron Davis and all of that. So I didn't know. So I kind of figured out when he was in the apartment and the Prowler showed up. That's when I'm like, oh no. That's when I first realized, but I had no idea about it. And that's kind of like the why I really didn't care for the comic book, because in the comic book, it's very early on, they realize that. And
Right.
he's actually kind of like a shitty uncle. Like, he's like, whatever, like, he was blackmailing him into doing work for him. But here they had such a lovely relationship, like, because he's like his dad is trying, like, he doesn't want to be in this charter school, and his uncle is the one, he wants to be a graffiti artist, and his uncle is always inspiring him to do those kind of thing, taking him to places and stuff like that. So they had such a lovely relationship. And when the death happens, you're like, no.
It was rough. They did a really good job.
Like, I mean, animation, like, I know Pixar can make you cry because they know to reach across the screen to tug at your heartstring. But now Sony apparently knows that too. Or like, this movie knew that too. Like, it was such a, like, I was like, like this the whole time. And it was like, the whole, like, when he put the mask back on, I was like, oh no, I was not sure which way this is going.
I thought I was going to kill him.
And then
he was going to be like,
right?
Your face. Yeah.
Right? And then it didn't go that way. And it was like, oh my God. And also, like, that goes to, like, his relationship with these two men were like, and it's such a positive thing too, because, there's not a lot of good representation with, like, Black male members having a good relationship, like, especially like, like, there's always this thing about, like, oh, the father figures are always away kind of thing. But here he actually had two different kinds of father figure. And it was just, and then his scene with when the dad came to break the news to him, and he was like, kind of stuck.
Good.
Like, speaking of voice acting being actually a form of acting, this is kind of the scenes that reminds you of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was just like, and Mahershala Ali as Uncle Davis, like, or Uncle, like, as Prowler, was just perfect. Like, he should be in everything. Why is he not in everything? Like, I can't believe, like, MCU, like, kind of ruined him just by sticking him in Luke Cage. He could be so much more. Like, oh, but anyway, like, that, everything, I just loved that whole relationship. And to be honest, though, that was the best part for me. So when I went to the comic and see that very quickly, that's not at all comic accurate, it just took me out. I was just like, oh, thanks, I have this movie, this is what I would treasure.
Miles gets to have those relationships with all of these people that he didn't get to have, because in the Ultimate Comics, and again, I can't speak for the current universe, they all let him down. Like, if you keep reading, you'll see, like, his dad lets him down, his uncle lets him down, and ultimately, Peter does, too, because Peter comes back and he sucks. Spoilers for Ultimate Universe, I guess, but it all sucked. And so this one was really nice to see him have 3 different people that really love him, and Peter, too, in his own way. He just doesn't know how to deal with it right away, right? And how he deals with that, but I just loved it. And I love Miles. I love his origin, kind of. I think it's so neat that his big motivator is that he didn't save Spider-Man.
Right.
He could have, right? And so, and this one's a little bit different than the comic one, but that's a really hard thing to take. He's only 13, and he has this ability. He doesn't know how to do it, right? He's like, I'm a kid. Like, what am I supposed to do? Oh, it's so good. I cried a ton. I cried.
No,
what? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, he's only 13, and he saw this such a tragic and terrible event. Like, he saw someone getting murdered, and his response
was like, bam,
and, yeah,
bam, like
it was brutal as fuck. Like, some such brutal murder. And his response wasn't like, oh my God, what I'm gonna do? And there's gonna be one show dedicated to me ranting about useless teens in fiction. But this is not that, because he's not a useless teen. But all other teens will be like, oh my God, I'm now depressed. But he's like, no, I'm not going to let another Spider-Man die. And because all these spider people who are here now, and because they're not in their own dimension, they're actually literally disintegrating slowly. And he's like, no, I'm going to get you home and I'm going to make sure this doesn't happen again. And that just drives him. And I just loved that in the end, all the spider people were gone and it was him who take on, let's talk about Kingpin. Because
I love the way they did Kingpin. He was so comical and he was so cartoony, but they did it in a perfect way because he is very, I mean, he was very, very scary looking. Yeah, this box man. I loved it. And I liked, you know, they didn't have to do too much with explaining his motivation, but they did just enough that it was very compelling about his family, and that's why he opened it up. Because his family, you know, saw him trying to kill Spider-Man. They're like, okay, we have to go. And then they die in a car crash. So he blames everything on Spider-Man. So he's like, open up another universe, and I'll take those ones. And so he does it from a place of of grief, which is made, and they didn't have to do like a whole huge arc to explain it. You know?
It was just explained in like 2 seconds, and you got it. Like, you know, it was explained 2 seconds, and you got it.
And that's something I've talked about a lot when I've been like, I've thought a lot about why the DC live action movies aren't good. And part of that is that, you know, people when they make these movies, they think that the audience needs an over explanation of things or they're not going to understand or care. But you don't need to do that. Your audience is very smart. They're very smart. They're going to pick up on these things and they're going to identify with them and they'll be fine. You don't need a huge long thing. And Into the Spider-Verse did a great job. It was just very like, here's this person's motivation. Here's this person's motivation. Here's this. You're done. You don't need a big, huge, you don't need to over-explain anything. You can go ahead and jump into the universe. Everyone's going to catch up with these characters just fine. Like, and that's what happened.
Well, sorry to break your bubble, but DC still hasn't learned that lesson then.
No.
From the movie I saw yesterday.
And I'm not expecting them to. I'm not expecting them to. But that's okay. That's fine. Yeah. Marvel understood the minute they was like, here's Guardians. I don't know any of these people.
But anyway, I just loved that. I was just really one missed opportunity, and I was Paul. What's his name? Liev Schreiber. He did an excellent job as Kingpin, and he doesn't actually get to talk a lot because, you know, his whole thing as his presence, and, you know, he has this clicky top pen that he just clicks all the time and walks around. But I really wanted Vincent D'Onofrio to voice him because he's just, I'm so scared of him. Like, I'm literally scared of the actor. So I was just kind of like, you know, just kind of hoping that he would be back. But let's talk about the other villain though. Dr. Liv.
My girl. So the minute she showed up, I was like, oh no, I need to cosplay her. Like, immediately. And I haven't felt that way about a lot of things, but I was like, she's going on the list. Absolutely. I loved that twist. I did not see it coming at all. I was so in love immediately. I was like, yes, she's so cool and crazy. Ooh. And then Peter realizes, he's like, wait a second, what did you say your name was?
Yeah, like, you know, that was like,
I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, that was like a mind blowing because I didn't see that coming. Because even in Ultimate Comics, it's still a dude, like, you know, so, you know, he's like, oh my, and her motivation is she just wants this to work. Like, her motivation is pure science based. Like, you know, talk about like mustache twirling, old timey classic, you know, like she just wants this to work. And she has no
for the science, and she doesn't really care it happens to anybody. She's just like she's a science-driven sociopath.
Yeah, she's like, and you know what? We need more of that. We can't be like, you know, take it from someone in STEM. We can be a little off kilter, but she was just amazing. And the thing is like, oh, is it hurt you? Like, you know, she captures Peter, which was the whole scene to get to that was like hilarious to begin with. The way they get there, put their clothes on, did their, you know, the whole thing and how they got there. And then it's like, oh, so does it hurt? And then he's like, why? What are you saying? Like, you know, that's when I'm like, what'd you say your name was? Because like, I'm going to sit here and watch you disintegrate. Like, that was like so good. Who was she voiced by? I didn't actually check that.
I'm not sure. I'll have to look into it.
I think it's Catherine Hun, like, or someone.
Before we get to the end of our like spoiler discussion and go back to the regular part of the show, how much did you love that Christmas Spider-Man song that I guess was sung by Chris Pine?
Oh yeah, that was because in the end he's like, "Why am I singing this? I have a degree in chemical engineering." I'm like, "Me too," and I love this. That was so good. So you have to stay until there's two post-credit. One to dedicate Stan Lee. We should talk about Stan Lee's cameo because that was I cried at that time.
And I didn't get super like moved when all that happened. I appreciate the significance, of course, you know, but it didn't affect me really. But for some reason, for that being the first movie I saw after his passing, I was like, and Peter just died too. So this whole thing, I'm just like. And I was crying. So I was super crying when he showed up.
You have to repeat that because I didn't catch any of that.
Oh,
your internet connection was cutting off.
Sorry. I was just saying that I cried when Stan Lee showed up, but I was surprised because I did not think I would. I guess because it was his first movie after he passed. So I was like, oh no. Well,
I saw the first his first cameo after he passed away was in Venom, because he was in Venom. So even though the movie came out before he passed away, but I actually got to see the movie after he passed away, or maybe he was already. So that's when I was like, oh no! And then this time I thought that I would be ready, but I didn't know that there was a cameo. So when he came, it was just perfect, and it was like such a perfect cameo in the sense like he's actually welcoming Miles into the world of Spider-Man. Like, you know, it was like, well, it always fits because Miles's response was like to go to a comic book, like, you know, and to buy the Spider-Man merchandise, like, you know, the cosplay, because, you know, he's gonna be cosplaying as Spider-Man, and, you know, he just welcomes him, and it was just perfect. So at the first post credit was literally just to give Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, both of them, honor. And then the second, so then the whole thing happened, whole post credit with like 10,000 people's name shows up, and then there's the Christmas song, and then do you want to talk about the next post credit scene? Because that was just, I don't even know what to say about that.
Yeah, so there's the other Spider person. I don't know who that is. But I guess if I read Spiderverse, I'll know. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna go back to the beginning. And he goes to like the old Spider-Man cartoon, and it's that scene where they're pointing at each other. And it's so good.
So where does that come from? Because I actually didn't, I know that this is like a very Spider-Man, like I've seen the GIF of it a lot, but I don't know where that comes from.
Well, it's just an old Spider-Man cartoon, but it became a meme with like the two Spider-Mans pointing at each other. And then it just got, you know, it's just been used a lot the past few years.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I've never seen that before. But we also have to talk about Nicolas Cage as Spider-Man Noir.
He was really good.
I'm glad
Nicolas Cage doing these voices in animated superhero movies.
Like I'm just glad that he accepted, he accepted his role in these, it's Catherine Hun who plays Doc Ock. No, but I am glad that, he kind of, Nicolas Cage kind of accepted this role of like showing up in different, like he was in Teen Titans, he was Superman, and here he just became Spider-Man Noir and had the same, like, brooding, but kind of like he just shows up, he's black and white, and then there's also air. It's like, where's the air coming from? We're in the basement, like, say wherever I go the air goes, and then you're like, what? Like, and then his whole thing about the Rubik cube, that was so cute.
Well, he's a comic book fan too, right? So I'm always happy to see him in roles like this.
Right, and it was perfect. I thought that, of all the roles they could have given him, like this was the perfect one for him. And also John Mulaney as Spider-Ham was also like, really cool. But that, I think, like, so what's your most memorable scenes? Like what do you remember the most?
I don't know. I mean, it's really hard to decide because it's all just so good. I guess I just have to go with the second Miles gets his suit, like for real, and it all works for him. It's such a good bit.
Oh, I loved that scene, especially like, oh, Aunt May, like, she just opens the door with, like, with a baseball bat. When they go to Aunt May's house because they wanted to go kind of get some help from her, and she just opens with a baseball bat, and from there on she was just nonstop fun. But when Miles finally shows up and she's like sitting there with like a tea, I don't know how long was she sitting there, first of all. And then she's like,
Aunt May is
long enough
hero of this, honestly. Like she's the number one superhero in this movie. Aunt May is.
Oh yeah, she 100% is. And the thing is, like, this is actually picture perfect on May from Ultimate Universe, because in Ultimate Universe, like, she goes to and kick J. Jonah Jameson's ass because for giving Peter too much hard time and everything. So this is like the picture perfect Ultimate Comics Aunt May that just shows up, and I think now she's the new normal for Marvel Universe. Like, Aunt May is a slightly more kick-ass than than before. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but anyway, for me the best scene is actually, like, in the end when Peter accepts Miles as the Spider-Man, like, the whole thing is, no, I need to stay, like, I can't go, I need to help you. And then he's like, no, like, go, like, he just pushes him. And I loved that in the end, Miles was the only one who was left behind, and he actually beat Kingpin on his own merit, and then saves the day. Like, it wasn't like, oh yeah, every one of them's like, if the whole scene was kind of swapped, that they left after they beat everything, I feel like it would have taken away from Miles, but it didn't. It was actually like, they all left, and then he had to do the final task. And that fight scene, everything about that, like, he fell down, he got up, like, his father was there, like, it was like, all of it was perfect. And it was like, so much was going on the scene at that time. I mean, having seen that today again in IMAX, it was just like, wow, like, just wow. I can't say how much I love this movie. Like, I never, like, nothing will ever come close to it. Like, all this time, it was always for me The Dark Knight. That was like my movie. And now it's this. I can't. Oh, so good. So good.
Okay, so are we good to go back to non-spoiler territory?
Oh yeah, I'm done. I mean,
all right.
I'm done.
Spoilers are over. There we go. Put in the chat.
Right.
So yeah, I feel like I don't have as much to talk about besides that, because that was mostly my week, was prepping for Spider-Man and watching Spider-Man. I'm trying to think if I read much else this week, and not really.
But the thing is, one thing I wanted to ask you, like, you read Jason Latour's Spider-Gwen?
Yeah. The first, like, volume 0, 1, 2, and 3, which are all on Comixology for free. I need to pick up the rest, because I loved that. I really, really liked it. She's very different than regular Gwen Stacy in characterization. She's very different.
Okay. So I'm going to check that out, because I do have the hardcover. So, and
is there a hardcover? Yeah, that's
there's an oversized hardcover for.
Yay!
So I haven't even opened that, but anyway. So here's.
I really think you'll like it, and I think you should add it to your list of badass comic book ladies, because the art for one is beautiful. The art and the color is great. She's very different because she's very. I don't know. She's not as, like, high energy, maybe, because she has a lot of grief she's dealing with in her own universe. But it's really neat to see all she goes through, because her relationship's interesting too, because her dad's a cop. And she's Spider-Gwen, and so she has to deal with that. But it's I think you'll like it a lot.
Okay, I'm going to read it as a part of my Kick-Ass Lady series, but at the same time, I feel like the movie just gave me enough to get me interested in her. So even if her story is different, I'm not gonna care because her story is not part of the movie. Like, she's just she's there, and then but I would say, like, I would recommend everyone to go see it. You must go see it. But there is also a couple of name mentions that just kind of happened over a cell phone, to keep an eye out for that. I thought that was pretty cool. Like, do you remember that scene? Like, so that was like, and they actually mentioned 2 names, not just one, because everyone talks about one name, but there was actually another name at the bottom. And I thought that was a very cool way to give a nod to them. So 10 out of 10, you should go see it. But yeah, I don't have actually anything much to say, because between Aquaman and this, I haven't read much else. But whatever else I read, we can talk about it next week's show, where we're going to be talking about our hauls and reads and all that jazz. And then
I'm excited to get all of my November, December hauls out, I think, to talk about.
Right. And we also going to do a best of show, the last show of the year, which is, I think, falls under the last day, or like 30th of December. So we're going to be talking about some of our best reads and everything. But today, we're just leaving you with what we thought about both what I thought about Aquaman and what we thought about Spiderverse. So what a time to be alive.
Yeah.
So before we go for it.
Sorry. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, do you want to tell people where people can go to read some of these comics about Aquaman, Spiderverse, Spider-Gwen, where people can go and read this book, get these books?
Just go to instocktrades.com. While she was talking just a second ago, I went ahead and added all 3 Spider-Gwen hardcovers to my wish list, and because they are all significantly cheaper than usual.
And to this, I think it's last to next 3 hours. So there is 45% off for Marvel and DC hardcovers and trade to collected editions. And next week, we're also going to be doing our 50% off book, which is the Mouse Guard box set. It will be on our Instagram. So if you go at Fangirlz Assemble, you will get all the details about it. And it's going to be also in the Facebook group as well. But yeah, so we both loved Spider-Verse, and I liked Aquaman. There is a very good chance in next 2 weeks I will have a complete different idea about Aquaman, but I can tell you I would forever and forever love Spider-Verse, and I cannot wait next weekend to go back and see it again. So with that, what would be your pick of the week, Maddie?
Oh gosh. I guess my pick of the week would be Spider-Gwen, because that's what I read this week, and that's what I had the most fun with. I super recommend it for everyone back home. If you see Spider-Verse and you're like, I need more of these characters, you will not be disappointed with Spider-Gwen at all. And plus, she's everywhere now. So I recommend just go ahead and read her now, because she's in cartoons on TV, she's in Spider-Verse. She's a big name now, so don't miss out on your chance.
I will definitely go check that out. So my pick of the week would be a little bit different. It's not, I would say go read Jeff Johns' Aquaman after you've seen the movie or before you see the movie, whatever way you want to do it. But I do want to recommend Avengers Forever by Kurt Busiek. It's like SparkNotes version of Avengers history. It's very wordy, but the art is gorgeous, and I really enjoyed it because I'm actually kind of craving for more Avengers after the Avengers Endgame trailer came out. So I don't know whether it's because of my bias like that, but I really enjoyed it. So if you have if you have like a full good day in your hand and you can just read and, about it. It's very expositional, so there's a lot of problem with that, but it's very entertaining at the end of the day. So if you like time travel, Avengers, and exposition-heavy comic, that's my pick for you.
That sounds great, honestly. I love all those things.
I really recommend you. I don't think you will take it as much, but
no, maybe not, because I feel like I don't get as into the Avengers in the comic as I do in the movies, but I would love for that to be different. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think this is kind of, if you read this, you would know everything that happened to them up to 1998. Like everything.
Okay.
That's all they talk about. So it's like a Sparks Notes version. That's what I'm kind of selling it as.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then if you find that, oh, one of the event I really want to know more about, you can go back and check that, because at the back of the trade paperback, they actually have all the where the events are from. So, but anyway. All right. With that, we say goodbye and have a good week. And then join us at next week and Kristan will be back. We'll talk about our hauls and reads. So have a good night, everyone.
Night, guys.